What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome on into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Sorry for the slight kind of pause in videos. I went home for Thanksgiving. I was like, I'll make some videos at home. My parents kept me busy, so I never really got around to it, unfortunately. But we are back. We'll have a watch party for Monday Night Football. But I want to talk about a sneaky advantage for Denver going into this Monday night game against the Cleveland Browns. And ESPN's Jeremy Fowler pointed out that Marvin Mims, and I don't know how AWS comes up with this, but Next Gen Stats says Marvin Mims has 77 punt return yards over expected. How they figure out what the expected punt return yards should be per punt is beyond me. And to be honest, I probably don't even know majority of these advanced analytics that we all pretend to know, but we just kind of go along with, like DVOA. What the hell is that? But what I do know is being third best at anything is a good thing. And Marvin Mims has been sniffing around a big punt return for a touchdown all season long. And this week he plays a Cleveland Browns punt coverage team that has allowed 116 yards over expected, which is 31st in the NFL. So this is a prime matchup and a prime week for Marvin Mims to really rip one off. And I know this sounds a little old-fashioned, but I think special teams will have a big influence on Monday night. The Browns played their tails off on Thursday night. They beat the Steelers at home in an all-time snow globe game. They've got some extra rest coming into this week. Meanwhile, the Broncos have a traditional just 8-day rest period going from Sunday to Monday. But I feel like Cleveland's defense, although it has been very spotty this year, it comes off a really good performance against the Steelers. Myles Garrett was terrific. 3 sacks, a forced fumble. The offense has been better under Jameis Winston. So with those tides kind of rising as of late, the big difference maker might be special teams for both teams. The Browns have had an awful special teams unit this year. Their kicker, Dustin Hopkins, has missed a handful of kicks, and that's on the light side. Meanwhile, Will Lutz has been great, and unfortunately, outside of one blunder in Kansas City, it has been an incredible unit, I'd say. For incredible might be a strong word, but a really good unit. Let's land there. And so I feel like with the Browns special teams unit not being very well this year and the Broncos special teams unit being one of the better units in the NFL, that could be a big difference maker, right? When you've got Will Lutz banging through 50-yarders and Dustin Hopkins missing 50-yarders, and you've got great field position because of Marvin Mims getting Bo Nix in great position. Those are the little things that over 60 minutes could really add up if this game is kind of close like it was on Thursday night, although I feel like the Browns kind of have one of those all-time emotional home wins with the crowd and the snow and the rival team in town, and that kind of wears off, and it might be hard to sustain week to week. So I like the Broncos on Monday night to win, but if it is going to be close, special teams is definitely going to be something that after 60 minutes we can look back at as, hey, a major difference maker in this game. So predict the score for me, Browns versus Broncos. Let me know in the comment section below. We're going to look at some injury news in just a moment, but I do want to hear from everyone down below. Now, speaking of Marvin Mims, just to kind of put a bow on this subject, he's been pretty good this year. I'm trying to be optimistic. I think we all have bigger expectations. Let's just be honest, right? 26 targets, 16 grabs, 162 receiving yards, 36 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. The way I look at it is if we're talking about Denver being not just a playoff contender, but a playoff winning team, then they're going to have to get more weapons. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from Bo Nix. He's been outstanding. He's been the best rookie in the NFL this year. But if you are going to knock off playoff teams one week after another, you're going to need a little bit more explosiveness and firepower, right? And that's where Marvin Mims has to come through, right? If Denver's going to go on the road and, let's say, knock off the Ravens or the Steelers, they're going to have to do it with a couple of big contributors on special teams to set up the offense with good field position. And then once they're on offense, they're going to need Marvin Mims to use his speed to get into the open field and turn a 10-yard play into a 15, 20, 25-yard play. You're going to have to pick up chunks of yardage. And I feel like Denver is needing an explosive player because Courtland Sutton has been awesome this year, and he's made big plays down the field, but he needs a right-hand man. And Josh Reynolds, unfortunately, has been hurt, but they should be getting him back soon. Little Jordan Humphrey has just been too inconsistent when it comes to ball security. There's no run game that's about to rattle off 20, 30, 40-yard runs. So I'm left with Marvin Mims, and I'm going to put a little bit more on his plate for the last third of the season to emerge as a guy who can get big explosive plays if this team is going to go out and win games in January. We're going to look at the injury news next up in just a second, but a big shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is super simple and easy to use. One of my favorite things about PrizePicks is all you do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Now, a beauty of PrizePicks is it can get you and your significant other engulfed in engage in a game that maybe you didn't have a big interest in beforehand. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. So let's run through some of the injury news here. Bo Nix, who I feel like I semi-cursed because I said last week or earlier this week, he's like an Iron Man. Nothing ever happens to him. It's awesome. He's so durable. And then a back injury pops up, which I did notice in the last game. He was kind of favoring his back at one point. He is active. He was a full participant, so he will be available, and he will start and play against the Browns on Monday Night Football. So a sigh of relief, but definitely something just to keep an eye on maybe during the game. Now, as for the other side of the ball, Zach Allen on the defensive line, he missed this past game against the Raiders. He is active for Monday night. A heel injury popped up in practice going into Week 12, kept him out for Week 12 in Las Vegas, but he is active. He should be available for Denver, which is a big boost on the defensive line because if you remember that Raiders game, the Broncos defense kind of sleptwalked in the first half. They really missed Allen, so a big boost to get him back for this week. Riley Moss, unfortunately, has been ruled out. He had a knee injury pop up in the win over Las Vegas. You got the bye week next week, so not a bad time for him to miss a game, get an extra week of recovery after this. So veteran Levi Wallace will be suiting up and starting in Moss's place, which I don't think is too much of a downgrade, but Moss has played some really good ball this year, so hopefully it's just 1 week for him, and he is back the following week after the bye at home against the Indianapolis Colts. Josh Reynolds is questionable. He had the hand injury earlier this year. He got surgery on it, and then while he was recovering from that surgery on injured reserve, he was a victim of multiple gunshots following the Broncos Saints win on Thursday night. He was in Denver when the gunshots happened, but that was the day it happened. So I'm sure that didn't help with the rehab for his hand and added a little bit more to his plate. But Josh Reynolds, questionable. Hopefully they can get him back because as much as I like Little Jordan Humphrey when it comes to his yards after catching contact, unfortunately he has cost this team one too many turnovers. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of a boost at the receiver position. And then another storyline to watch for is familiar face, Jerry Jeudy, coming back to Denver, playing the team that took him 15th overall back in 2020. He has been really good for the Browns as of late. On the year, 645 yards, 2 touchdowns. He has heated up the last couple of weeks. And I think looking back at this trade, one, I don't think Broncos country should really paint out Jeudy as the devil or can't wait to beat him. Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't work out with him in Denver, and there's blame for Jeudy, and there's blame on the Broncos with the constant quarterback and offensive coordinator turnover and never any stability. But a wide receiver selected in first round should be able to overcome some of those hurdles. That's why they go in round number 1. But I know he's motivated and excited to come back and play his former team. I'm sure Pat Surtain is motivated and excited to go up against a guy that he went up against in practice for a couple of years in Denver and in Alabama. So it's going to be a fun matchup between those two. And the crowd, I'm sure, is going to get into it because that's what fans do. So Jerry Jeudy coming back to Denver. Ultimately, I think looking back at the trade, though, it was kind of a win-win-win. The Broncos got his fully guaranteed contract off their books. They got a 5th and a 6th round draft pick. Sure, probably would have liked a little bit more than that, but say Levy. The Browns got a pretty solid, I'd say, wide receiver in Jeudy so far for them this season. He's been very good. And then Jerry Jeudy himself got a brand new contract in Cleveland, an extension, and I think is more comfortable in Cleveland than he was in Denver. So that'll be a fun return to keep an eye on. Before we sign off, I just want to show some love to the Blue and Orange Club. Slap yourself. I don't give a buck. Bringing the boom last week against the Raiders, as the Eagles just had a missed opportunity. John E., Anthony, Bobby Leglocks, and Rick Callister, thank you guys for always going above and beyond during our watch parties to make sure we always have a blast. So we'll be live on the channel tomorrow night, so come tune in and hang out with us. And until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I like the Bills, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a blowout as people think it's going to be. So I'll leave you guys with that.